Macau is a unique and fascinating place with its mixture of old Portuguese colonial architecture and gleaming modern casinos. Most people visit Macau as a day trip from Hong Kong, but I highly recommend staying a few nights to make the most of this really special location. In this guide I will show you the top 10, including historic architecture, cute pandas and crazy looking casinos that will make you wonder where on earth you are. The most iconic and famous landmark of Macau is the ruins of St. Paul's Church. All that remains is the large and impressive Renaissance-style facade, but wow, what a facade it is. It sits atop a long flight of steps, making it seem much bigger than it really is. This facade was part of a church that was completed in 1637, which was then destroyed by a typhoon and fire in 1835. Wow, that's pretty unlucky. During the daytime, you can walk behind the facade to a small space with information and artifacts telling the story of the location. If you're going to take one photo in Macau, then this view from the bottom of the steps is probably it. It does, however, get crazy busy, so if you know how to take long exposure photos, I recommend coming here a bit later at night when most of the day trippers have gone to get some snaps with a few less people. Also right next door is this tiny Taoist Nacha temple, which was built in 1888 and creates a fascinating contrast with the Western architecture right next door. More or less next door to the ruined church is the Monte Forte, which is a large colonial era fortress built in 1626. For years it was the centre of Portugal's military presence in China and was also the governor's residence until 1749. It continued in use as a military base until as recently as 1965. The site is very impressive, with large imposing walls sat atop a hill. Entry to the exterior parts is free and you can walk around the fortifications and look at the old cannons. The best part, however, is the epic views you get over the city, especially looking toward the weird looking Grand Lisboa Macau building, which we'll have a little look at later. Also in this location is the Macau Museum, which was opened in 1998. You need to pay to enter, but it's totally worth it as the museum contains fascinating exhibitions telling the unique story of Macau with its wonderful mixture of Western and Eastern cultures. Those were just two parts of Macau's historic centre, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The old town, however, has a lot more to see, including the famous Senado Square. This large triangular-shaped plaza is flanked by wonderful historic buildings, making it almost feel like you're in Portugal, especially with the amazing Portuguese-style mosaic paving stones. At the far end of the square is the historic St. Dominic's Church. This wonderful building dates from 1587 but has been updated mostly in the 17th century to its current Baroque style. The interior is free to enter and should not be missed, as not only is it an interesting architectural space, but it's a nice peaceful place to escape the crowds and heat outside. While you are here, don't miss the little museum attached to the church, which contains many fascinating objects related to the church. Macau's Old Town is also a great place to try local food. Most famously, you will find shops selling traditional Portuguese-style egg tarts. We got some from the Bamu Bakery, which were delicious. And this little bakery also sold many other really tasty pastries. Yummy! Another famous street food here is the bakwa. Don't know if I've pronounced that right. Also known as rugan. This is a dried meat similar to jerky, and it's sold in neat little squares and is perfect to munch on as you walk around the old town. It's chewy and tasty, and we especially love the spiced pork ones. We also got a traditional fried pork bun from a little street store on the street, which I will put the name of on the screen, which was cooked fresh and was delicious, as well as some amazing dumplings. Wherever you go in Macau, you will find fantastic food, so make sure you try a little bit of everything. Not everything in the old town is old. Just south of the old town is the original casino district. Here you will find some modern buildings, including the crazy and astonishing Grand Lisboa Macau, which opened in 2008. This is a hotel and casino and looks like a giant leaf plonked on top of a Christmas bauble. At night it's illuminated with changing light patterns and you can see it from all over the city. It looked especially cool from the window of our hotel. This ultra-modern building also looks especially interesting when viewed from the confines of the narrow streets of the old town, where you will catch glimpses of it looming over the streets as you explore the city. Now if you think that is a somewhat bonkers piece of architecture, then stay tuned as there is more of that kind of thing later in the video. There is a lot more to Macau's history than just its Portuguese connections, as the city also has some very notable historic Chinese architecture. My favourite of these is the Mandarin House. This large complex was completed in 1869 and is one of the largest family houses in Macau. It was built in a mainly Cantonese style with delightful features such as these amazing round gates, but it also has some Western elements mixed in. It's really fascinating. The house was home to a famous Qing theatician whose name I will put below because I probably can't pronounce it. Here he wrote one of his great masterpieces while living in the building. The complex is simply wonderful, so here is a little montage of what to expect. Not too far from the Mandarin House is a small hill with a church on top called the Chapel of Our Lady of Penha. This building dates from 1622, with the current building being from 1935. The church is interesting and worth looking inside, but the main reason to visit is to get these epic panoramic views overlooking the Macau Tower with the skyline of the mainland Chinese city of Zhuhai in the background. A moderate walk from the Mandarin House is another notable piece of Chinese architecture, the Ama Temple. This Buddhist temple complex was completed in 1488 and is one of the oldest temples in Macau. It is thought that the temple's name is also the origin of the name Macau. The temple is a complex of buildings spread over a rocky hill. It's free to enter and explore. Make sure you spend some time walking up and down the steep steps and have a look inside the little temple buildings. This is a very traditional location with lots of incense burning and is in stark contrast to much of the rest of the city. While you're visiting the temple, you should also pop in the Maritime Museum, which is basically next door. This modern building was opened in 1987 and is on the site where Portuguese explorers first landed in Macau in 1553. The museum has a fascinating collection of model ships and other artifacts telling the maritime history of the city. It also has a small aquarium full of many exotic fish. So far, everything we've seen has been on the original island of Macau, but the next few locations are on the second island, which means you'll need to brave Macau's confusing public transport system. So, for the next location, you'll need to jump on the 25 or 26A to this bus stop, which will take you to see some giant pandas. The pandas are in a small free-to-enter zoo. The Panda Pavilion is closed on Mondays and at lunchtimes, so check the opening times carefully before you go. We didn't and accidentally went on a Monday, which meant we had to return the next day. There were two pandas when we visited and both were quite happy chilling out in their enclosures. One of them was asleep hanging off its platform, while the other seemed very happy to be photographed as it was having a good old munch on some bamboo. They are super cute, and did I mention it's free of charge to see them. As this place is a little out of the way, it's also not that busy with tourists, so I really recommend to not skip it. That's not all there is here. The pavilion is in a large park which also has cages where you can see monkeys and all sorts of other interesting animals. There is also a red panda pavilion, but this was completely closed when we visited, so if you have been inside, let me know in the comments what it is like. Also on the second island is the massive and modern casino district of Cotai. The district is huge and is well served by buses and also the small metro system, so getting here is not too difficult. The district is very modern and is somewhat similar to Las Vegas with a series of gigantic hotel and casino complexes. As a note, I did not enter any of the actual casinos as I don't gamble, and also filming is not allowed inside those parts. However, even if you don't gamble, this place is fascinating. Many of the casinos are themed around European locations, so you will see a replica of the Eiffel Tower in one, with an attached shopping mall full of French branded shops and with interior decorations to resemble the inside of a French chateau. You may find walking around in here will make you feel confused that you're not in Europe and you are in fact in Asia. There is another complex across the road based on London, complete with a Big Ben, a London bus and even a London cab. In the main atrium there is even a replica of the statue of Eros found in Piccadilly Circus. The largest of these casino complexes is the Venetian, which is based loosely on Venice. This is an enormous shopping mall, and inside you will find a pleasant and artificial replica of some of Venice's canals, where you can even take a gondola ride. And there are even more and even crazier casino complexes to explore if you have the time. Some of them have their own cable car rides, such as this one in the Studio City Macau. Another famous cable car can be found in the Wind Palace, which takes you over a spectacular lake light show. The cable car was unfortunately not open when we visited, but I've read that it's very cool. The best time to visit this district is at night, when all the crazy buildings are competing with each other with their extravagant light shows and illuminations. Not too far from the glitzy casinos is another historic area, sometimes called Taipa. You can get there easily enough on the metro via the Pai Kok station. From there you can stroll into the old town area. Here you will find another interesting temple called the Tin Hau Temple, which is worth having a look inside. Just across the road is the Historical Museum, which is housed inside an old 1920s colonial style council building. Inside you will find a wide range of artifacts, from religious objects to excavated relics. It's a fascinating building to explore, so don't skip it. Next you should wander through the narrow streets to the Rue de Cunha, which is a narrow and bustling street full of food stores. We tried some Portuguese style grilled pork buns and they were very tasty. Another few minutes walk away is a historic Our Lady of Carmel Church, which sits in a lovely little plaza with other historic buildings. Just down the hill from there is the main attraction of the district, which is the historic Taipa houses. This is now a museum complex consisting of 5 houses, of which some can be entered. This row of houses looks like nothing else you will see in either Macau or Hong Kong, and seems to be a relic from a bygone age. The buildings are quaint, colourful and charming. They were built in 1921 for colonial families, and the ones you can visit give a very interesting perspective on what life would have been like back then. The houses sit overlooking an expansive nature reserve, where you can also see the modern casinos nearby, and it looks totally epic. There's also a great looking observation platform not too far from here, but it was so hot and humid when we visited that we didn't have the energy to go there. So let me know if we missed out and if you have been, and what it's like. Location number 10 is back on the main island and is another castle on a hill called the Guia Fortress and Lighthouse. The fortress sits on a hill in the middle of a park and can be accessed by either walking up a very steep hill or catching a cable car. We decided to walk and it was exhausting, but worth it as the views from the top are simply stunning. The castle and chapel date from the 17th century, with the lighthouse being completed much later in 1865. The chapel can be entered and has lovely frescoes, although filming was not permitted, but it's worth having a look when not being too distracted by the amazing views. There are also some tunnels to explore underneath, but these are just closed when we arrived, so instead we spent the time looking at the incredible skyline as the sun was starting to dip. So that was more or less the top 10 things in Macau, but there are a couple of honourable mentions I want to mention. The Macau Tower, which was completed in 2001 and is 338 metres high. We did not visit on this trip to record video, but had been on a previous visit, hence these old photos from 2007. It has a restaurant and observation deck at 233 metres that you can visit with epic views and glass floors. From here, if you are brave enough, you can take one of the world's highest bungee jumps. If you missed your ferry back to Hong Kong and have some time to kill, then not too far from the ferry port is an area called Fisherman's Wharf. It used to be a theme park, but has since been changed to a commercial district full of shops and restaurants. The interesting thing about it is the architecture, which includes a mock-up of the Colosseum, complete with fake ruins, as well as numerous other buildings inspired by various historical styles. Overall, it's weird and wonderful. Well, that's it for Macau. If you got this far, then many thanks for watching. I hope to see you in another video, and cheerio!